Y'all, Regina of byregina.com here today, and I am so excited because it is hashtag Go Independent. It is finally here, and I am traveling around the United States talking to tons of amazing entrepreneurs who have transitioned to working for themselves full-time, hence the hashtag Go Independent, okay? So today I am headed to Tulsa, Oklahoma to talk to one of the best, most exciting internet entrepreneur, human web developer people ever. She's so talented. She's really sweet to talk to, and she has some great tips for us. So we're talking to Lisa Butler of lmb.com. So, I'm thinking, guys, just tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking you probably want me to share a corny joke that I just rediscovered right now, right before we go talk to her. Okay, no problem. I got you. So here it is. Ready? What kind of animal do you not play cards with? I'll give you some guessing time. Yeah? A cheetah. Get it? A cheetah? Yeah. Anyway, no laughs? All right. Good deal. Good deal. Let's go talk to Lisa Butler of lmb.com.
Dobby, kennel. This is not your kennel.
That was so funny. You just want to be here. It's cool. I understand. You want to be in the shop. Okay, let's just go with it.
Okay.
All right. So, as I said, we are talking today with Lisa Butler of lmb.com and Dobby as well. Say hi to everyone. So cool. Dogs like me. Anyway, so Lisa, if you will just introduce yourself and tell everyone kind of what you do for a living.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. This is Dobby again. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Butler. I'm from lmb.com, and I help people build better websites. So I blog regularly. I send out an email newsletter. And then for one-on-one work, I do design and web development on WordPress for clients.
And your site, LMB, what's the story behind the name?
It's my initials spelled out. There were too many Lisa Butlers in this world.
I thought it was so clever. So it's ELEMBEE, right?
Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
Awesome. So lmb.com. So one of the things that drew me to your site when I first discovered it was how obviously well designed it was. It was very functional, and then you have such great information that you publish on your site all the time. I love her blog.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit. So the majority of your income is from what? The one-on-one development projects?
Yeah, right now most of my income comes from web development projects, which is actually different than it was even a year ago, where most of my income was coming from design projects.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it's been really nice to be able to say, okay, I need to spend more creative time on my writing rather than design, and so I've just made that shift to doing more coding work.
I love it. What are some of the moves that you're going to be making in the near future too? So like I see that you have a course listed that's coming up pretty soon, and there's an ebook out right now. Is that right?
Right. So I already have 2 ebooks out, one on WordPress and one on just getting your email list together. And those were just the result of things that clients ask me a lot, questions I get from readers, and things like that. So I just wanted to create something that would help those people in one resource. And then for my e-course, I actually ran it last fall. It was more focused on coding your website. So I'm expanding that information. We're going to talk about also the design aspects of your website and get a little bit into planning as well. So that's called Get Your Website Together, and that will be coming soon.
I love that. So what level of knowledge of web and internet stuff would someone need to have to kind of succeed in this course?
We're really going to go over coding basics, but I think it always helps to at least have a little bit of knowledge, because we're not going to go super in depth into all the little details of it, but we are going to go over the framework that you need to really get started. And I think with coding, it's just one of those things that the more you do it, the more you learn, and it's really a trial and error kind of thing. So
Gotcha. So tell us, what is your favorite part of being independent, working for yourself full time? Is it freedom? What is it?
Yeah, I absolutely love the freedom. All I ever wanted to do was travel, and I was sitting in a desk job, like just building a vacation time that I wasn't able to use, and it just wasn't enough. And so that's one thing that I really love about having my own business is that I can just take off and go when I want, and my work can just come with me. So I never really have to worry about, am I going to be able to get this done, because it's portable and I don't have to say no to travel opportunities anymore. So that's really exciting, and I like, being able to set my own schedule, being able to say, okay, I'm going to work really hard this week so I can and take next week off and things like that. So
don't have to submit for vacation time.
Exactly.
So when did you first realize that you wanted to do this? You wanted to work for yourself, and then tell us a little bit about how you made the jump or the switch.
Yeah, so I was sitting in my desk job, and I'd been there a few years. I was reasonably happy, but something felt missing. Then I discovered this whole world of blogging, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a try and see what happens. So I started my blog, and I just, I played around with design. I was an in-house designer for a company, so I was really kind of like pigeonholed into one kind of design type. So it was really a place for me to explore my own style and what I wanted to do. And I just couldn't get enough of it. And so as that kind of went on, as I like redesigned my own website over and over and over again, ridiculous amounts, people started taking notice, and they're like, you work with WordPress. I need help with my website. Can you help me out with this? Can you help me out with that? And it just kind of got the ball rolling, and I was like, maybe I can do this. So, and I just kept taking on projects. I said yes to everything for a while, and just to really get a feel for what I really wanted to do and what kind of my sweet spot was, what I was going to be best at, and what was really going to help me build a business. And so I kind of used the time with my desk job and balancing my business to build that up. And I kind of figure that out then. And I still did a lot of experimentation once I left. But for me, the way I was able to make the jump is I actually lived with my family for a while. I said, like, okay, I'm at a point that I can't do both. I'm not doing both well anymore. Like, I'm spending all of my free time on my business. I'm not seeing my friends at all. And it was getting ridiculous. So it was like, I have to do something. And my aunt was like, well, you can come live with me for a while and see how it works out. And I was, I had to take it. I had to see what was going to happen. So, I mean, it's not ideal living with family when you're, in your mid-20s, but it worked out. Like, I wouldn't go back.
I definitely lived with my dad for a while. So, okay, I love that. I love the story. So, do you feel like, well, I guess what was the hardest part? Was it that, or was there something else that was difficult about making the transition to full-time?
I think it was really getting into routine because, when you're doing the side hustle, all you can do is work. Your mind is always on your business, and you're working at your desk job, and you're like, I just want to be home working on my business, and then you're home, and that's all you're doing. And then my routine completely changed when I moved in with family. Then it was like, hey, let's go run errands in the middle of the day and things like that. And I was getting used to the fact that I had freedom to sleep in and things like that. So I'd work way late at night. And then sleep way late in the morning. It was so ridiculous. So, like, really evening out my schedule and figuring out what was going to work best for me and what was going to keep me productive and earning money, because you kind of have to do that with a business. So, just getting settled into all of that.
So tell us about some of your favorite maybe portfolio items of things that you've worked on, or maybe some of your favorite blog posts. I know I have quite a few favorites from your site. I love going to your site. It's well designed, great information. She's amazing on Pinterest. I'm sure you've probably seen some of her pins. But tell us some of your favorite items that you like.
So one of my favorite design projects was making Magique. It was a lifestyle blog, and it just really kind of stretched my imagination as far as blog layouts and things like that. So that was something that I was really proud of. And then development-wise, I feel like I'm constantly getting new challenges with that. And so, like, every time I finish a project, I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever done. Because it's an area that I'm always growing in. There's always something new, something different. Technology is always changing. So we recently worked on Tomboy KC, and it just has this really cool, like, magazine-style layout and, like, really fun functionality for the posts. So that was really exciting. Just to see how all of that comes together in, like, that moment when you can get the code to work. You're like, it works. So that's pretty exciting. And then as far as my blog and my email list, I really love writing to my email list.
You're so great at your emails.
Thank you. It's it just feels like personal letters to my readers, to the people that have subscribed, and just kind of sharing whatever I'm going through, whatever's going through my mind at the time related to my website and related to my business and how I'm, just managing things. And for me, I think it occurred to me like a month ago, this is really supposed to be fun. Blogging is supposed to be fun. Like, that's why we all get into it. Yeah. And I think for me, you get lost in that, like, every day, oh my God, I gotta get a blog post up. Oh my God, I gotta get this email done. I have to brainstorm ideas. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to share it on social media, blah, 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 blah. I'm going crazy. Right. But when you step back, it's like, no, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be something that you love doing. Right. And so I just really enjoyed writing that, and I hope that other people kind of felt the same. Like, it kind of, like, can take a breath and just have fun with it.
How do you feel like you integrate or incorporate fun into your business? Which some people might say, well, you're coding all day, that's very serious, or it is serious having to remember to publish this and then promote it here and then whatever. So, like, how do you actually make it fun?
So one of my favorite things to do when I'm writing is, if I'm just really not in the mood, I will put on my PJs, get super comfortable, and go get cozy in my bed.
That's so smart.
And just,
do you have a glass of wine, by the way?
Yes. I have my dog curled up next to me. She knows what we're talking about her. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You just have to, like, let everything else kind of fade away. And just, what do I really want to write about? What is going on in my mind right now?
Gotcha.
And, like, with coding, the nice thing about coding is there are parts of it that are pretty routine. So I'll put on Netflix, and I can kind of listen to different shows while I'm working. And if I'm, like, really just feeling, oh my God, I'm going crazy at my desk, I just move to my couch. Or I find somewhere else in town to work with. I pack it all up and go to a coffee shop or go get brunch or something like that. Because I think just getting out of that one little confined space just really does wonders for your perspective and for your attitude.
I love that. So do you also, like, schedule in times where you're like, I'm shutting off my computer, notifications are off my phone, I'm just ignoring it all? Does that kind of help you recharge as well?
I'm like, I cannot look at my phone, my laptop, or anything anymore. None of this. And just shut it all off and go snuggle in bed with a book. Yeah.
I realized it was bad in my own life when I had to, like, make a rule for myself. Like, it's called the no 3 devices. 3 devices can't be in the bed with me at the same time. Like, I can have my laptop and my phone, or my phone and my iPad, but I can't have all 3. And I was like, wait, why is that my rule? That's, like, way too much going on. Yeah. I had to, like, scale it back completely and not be so dependent on the devices.
Yes.
So that's so cool that you're able to take that step back. So tell us, if you will, how you, so we know a little bit about how you kind of structure your work when you're wanting to have fun. How do you just structure your days and weeks in general? Like, what would a typical maybe day or week look like for you as far as your work is concerned, and splitting up all the multiple things you have to do?
Yeah, so what I really try to do there, I'm not a super like strict routine person, and I think it's important to recognize like how you work best, which is something you kind of figure out along the way. I'm not like, I can't force myself to get out of bed early. It's just not going to happen. So I take my mornings slow. I usually try to maybe watch a video for education. Maybe I'm like working on an e-course or something like that, and I'll watch those videos in the morning. As I'm just kind of waking up, and then maybe I'll write a little bit for my blog or my email list, so that I'm starting the day with something that I do, that I like to do, and it's really just for me.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of get in the right mindset. And then as far as like each day goes, I try to kind of split up my work by day. So like on Mondays, I'll do business stuff.
Okay.
And then on Tuesdays, I'll be working on a client development project or things like that. And I really try to devote large chunks of time during the day for whatever I'm focusing on, because if I try to do like, there's certain things that I can do like a little bit at a time each day, but you can't do everything that way. You've got to have like some focus time where you can really get ahead on something.
Right.
And really put all your focus and energy into that. So
I really feel like that helps you feel productive and feel like you've done something.
Yeah.
Like you can think back like, oh, on Monday I finished XYZ project. So
exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about tools that you use that you feel like you could not function without, or that maybe make it a little bit easier for you to split up your days like that.
So Todoist is my game changer. I don't even remember when I discovered it. I've been using it forever. I've been using the premium version forever because I love it so much. And I just, everything goes into Todoist. It goes in the inbox, and then I sort it into the proper projects later on. But if it doesn't get into Todoist, it just doesn't happen.
Okay.
So I have to put it in there, and I have to put a due date on it so it'll show up on my master list each day. And then all I have to do is log in, and then the first thing it shows me is the next 7 days. So then I can just move things around and say, okay, I'm going to do that this day. I'm going to do this on this day. So I just always make it a rule that whenever I add something to my to-do list, it gets a Monday due date on whatever week I think I'm probably going to do it.
Okay.
And then on that Monday, I start to move things around and say, okay, I'm going to do this on Tuesday. Because like I said, I mostly focus on my business on Mondays. So, I mean, most of the things that I put on my to-do list are not going to actually get done on Mondays. It's just having that due date so that when you're like sitting down to look at it, you know it's there.
Okay.
And you're not like going through different projects or like trying to organize a giant list. You just know, and so I can move things around and keep going like from day to day. So if I don't finish something, then I can just move it to the next day.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't familiar with Todoist, that's spelled Todoist. Okay, and so it functions as kind of a to-do list where we're able to look at a week at a glance and move things around pretty easily between the...
Yeah, it's pretty, it's a pretty minimal interface. So when it's just one long list. Okay. So and then you can break it up. You can have a project, which would just be another list. And, you can just keep typing, hit enter, and it'll keep adding tasks to your list. And then you can say today, and it'll mark that as due today. So then when you look at the 7-day view, it'll just put it down in one list and say Monday, here's your tasks for Monday. Tuesday, here's your tasks for Tuesday.
Got it.
And then you can just click and drag the tasks.
That sounds pretty simple. So you've been using that for a long time.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it for somebody who is doing kind of what you're doing? You're freelancing, you're handling clients, you're also handling a blog, and you're handling courses, and it works for all of that.
Yeah, because I have separate, you can create projects. So I keep all of those in separate to-do lists. Okay. So if I'm like really focusing on my blog, I can just go down. For example, I do have a list for changes I want to make for my website.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I know I want to make changes to my website, I have this list that I can just go down
Mm-hmm.
individually. Or when I'm looking at my master to-do list, I can see the colors for each project, and I know, okay, this is a development project, this is a business project, or things like that. So there's different ways that you can kind of switch gears to organize it in different ways.
Okay, this is definitely an app I'm going to check out. So tell us about other apps that you use in your business or tools in general.
Yeah, so I use Adobe Creative Cloud for pretty much all of the work that I do for clients. A lot of designers send me files in Photoshop, so I have to have Photoshop to read those files and look through them, and it's also really great for photo editing, and it even does video editing, which I just discovered. Yeah,
I did not know that.
I mean, it's pretty basic, but it's pretty cool. I mean, if you had one tool for design work, that would be the tool that you need to get, because it just does a lot of different things.
I do love Photoshop.
Yeah. And then I personally prefer Illustrator for web design, just because it's easier to put shapes together and things like that. It's a little more precise in that regard. And then I use Dreamweaver for coding because it just comes with the whole package. So why pay extra for something that's like, you might as well, if you're already paying for one package, you might as well use all the tools in it. So
I used to nerd code my HTML emails in Dreamweaver until I discovered MailChimp. And then I was like, oh, I could have just been doing this the whole time.
Yeah, I do not code email templates.
I just loved it until I realized it was the hardest way to do it. But anyway.
Yeah.
And then you also, I think, talk about your host for your website. Who do you use for hosting that you really
I use
like?
Flywheel.
Okay.
And they are amazing. I recommend them to all my clients, and it just helps me sleep better at night because they do all the backups, they do security monitoring, and they're just constantly innovating. And their support team is phenomenal. You email them, and it's like,
that's amazing.
And they're
so necessary.
Yeah.
With hosting, that is so necessary.
It's true.
Yeah, I love managed hosting. So that's like a managed WordPress hosting company.
Yes.
Flywheel. So then tell us about, now that you've kind of been in business for a while, what are some of the best platforms and tools you use to actually just promote your business in general?
Yeah, blogging and my email list have really been huge, because I think that it really helps people get to know you.
Okay.
So, and I find that when people approach me for projects, they're usually pretty familiar with what I do, because they'll see the work that comes out as I share it, on social media and things like that, or I'll link to it in my blog post. So they're kind of keeping up with it that way. And then they also know how I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm I'm sharing my thought process essentially on my blog and through my email list. And this is kind of, how I approach websites. And so when you connect with that, then that I'm the right designer for you. And it just kind of breaks down that barrier. I think in a way, just giving more of that information up front, it helps people feel more comfortable, especially after they've followed you for a while.
Yeah.
And they just really get to know you as a person, and it's not just, I'm just contacting some random somebody,
some stranger on the internet.
Yeah, basically. You're like, I kind of feel like I know this person.
Yeah.
I've seen the work that she's done, and I trust her to do my website.
Even for me, like, just trying to collaborate with you for this interview, like, I already felt like I knew you well because of your blog and getting emails from you. And so, like, when I got here, by the way, we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you guys, today. When I got here, I was just like, oh, there's my friend picking me up. And she picked me up. She's so nice. It was just but that's like something amazing that you can establish by doing blogging as well as you do it, and by giving such genuine emails and tips and everything that you do. So,
Mm-hmm.
so speaking of email, I have a few questions for you. Your email list is just one of the coolest ones that I'm a part of.
Thank you.
And I wanted to kind of ask you, what would be some of your initial tips for someone who wants to grow a meaningful email list?
I think you can't get caught up in the numbers game. It's really easy. Everybody, when they talk about emails, it's like, oh my goodness, you have to have 5,000 million subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it really goes to your head.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to remember that each person that signs up for your list is, I mean, there's a person behind it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can help them. And I think what's really helped me the most is I have an autoresponder on my email list, and that's the first thing that I ask people when they subscribe is, hey, what do you want to do with your website in the next 30 days? And so I get like a lot of really great responses from that can kind of guide what I talk about, because it's like when it opens up that conversation and it gets people to ask you questions. And when you have questions to work with, you can easily answer them. And they're things that like you may not think about otherwise. But I think, it's just like when you go to happy hour with your friends and they're telling you what they're going through, and you respond. You have advice for them. So it's really the same thing with your email list, is how can you respond to the people that are on it.
Okay. So basically when someone signs up, they get an automatic email from you, which is your autoresponder. Do you use MailChimp?
No, I use Campaign Monitor.
Campaign Monitor. Okay.
I used to use MailChimp when I first started, and then when I was ready for autoresponder capabilities, I just felt like Campaign Monitor was a better match for me.
Okay. So they get an automatic email from you, just kind of welcoming them, I can talk, to the list, and then asking them any of the questions they have, or what they're trying to do with their website in the next 30 days. And so when people are responding to you, you're not only getting blog post ideas, but you're getting ideas for what to send to your email list, maybe even what to put into like future ebooks and courses.
Exactly.
That's really a brilliant way to collect information from people who
It's
are
great.
opted in and clearly love you already, or else they wouldn't have signed up for the email list. That's an epic idea. So then, what do you feel like helps you just grow the list to begin with? How do people even get, I don't know, the idea to sign up, or enticed to sign up?
You have to tell them. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, if people don't know your email list exists, they're not going to sign up for it. So you've got to put those opt-ins in a place that they're going to be able to see. And you've really got to, I think for me, I've really focused the design on my website on getting people to opt in.
Yeah.
So it's like the first thing people see when they get to my website, it's like, okay, here's my tagline, here's a little bit about me, and here's my email list. Like, I send emails each week about this.
Yeah.
If you're interested, put your email right here. And it's the first thing that people are going to see when they get onto my website. And then as soon as they finish reading a blog post, they're going to see, if you like this blog post, maybe you should subscribe to my email list.
So smart.
So it's just thinking about those like natural paths that people are taking through your website and giving them that next step. And also, like, trying not to give them too many options. Like, you want to related posts are nice, and I use them on my website, too. Just make sure that, like, if you really want people to opt in, that's the first option they have after they finish reading a blog post. Okay. And then you can kind of direct them to commenting and, looking at related posts, reading the next post, and things like that, or sharing your post.
Definitely.
So if growing your email list is a priority, and I'm not saying like it has to be, if you'd rather have people share, then you want to put that as the first action. But if you want to grow your email list, then you've got to make it a priority and tell people, this is what I want you to do next.
Yes. So I see a lot of people where growing an email list is their priority, but they haven't like taken that step, which I think is so smart, just to make it the first thing that you see after you read a blog post. Because if you liked this, you'll like that too. So that's a great step people can take. I'm assuming you also, you say you have it in the header, or?
I actually have mine in the footer of my website throughout the website, because it just depends on page per page. Like, some pages like my Hire Me page.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily
think it's a good idea to have it there.
Yeah. It's there when people get to my Hire Me page, they've already probably looked at my other pages and they're probably already on my email list. But like my About page, of course, you want to have your bio.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about who you are, why your website exists, why people should even be reading this. But then say your next step, if you want to keep up with me, is to sign up for my email list. Here it is.
So leading people through the process and giving them very, very easy path to kind of take the action you want them to take, and is probably the best action for them at the time too. Like, get to know me a little bit better, and then decide where you want to go from here. So I love that. Okay, so then let me ask you this. Now that you've been working for yourself for a while, developing all of these strategies, they didn't obviously come overnight. You weren't doing this 2 years ago or whatever. What are some of the things that you maybe would have done differently in your business earlier on?
I think for me, I just really hesitate to say that I would do anything differently because I think that everything that I've done has gotten me where I am today, because it's those lessons that you learn that make you improve. Yeah. And so it's the projects that didn't quite go the way you wanted them to go that make you add things to your contract to make it more clear the next time, or make you go through your process and say, where am I not being clear to my clients? Or maybe say, you know, maybe this person isn't my dream client. Maybe I need to revise my dream client. So like without those experiences, you don't get that moving forward. You don't get the improvement, and you also don't get that like conviction behind what you're doing. So like I feel like, you know, if I had tried to charge what I charge now when I was first starting out, like I couldn't back that up. There's no way I could have backed that up. I wouldn't have even dreamed of charging that pricing, but going through all the crazy times that I went through, working my butt off, it's that I can say, okay, this is worth my time. Like, I need to be paid more for this. Gotcha. And I can stand behind my pricing with conviction.
I think that's such an important thing that you're saying, because a lot of people get into business and they feel like they need to be charging something similar to what everyone else in the field is charging, or obviously pricing does send some type of message, like of the quality of the whatever it is that you're creating. But I like what you said, because whatever your pricing is, it has to be something that you can stand behind and explain and justify. So if you're first getting started in business, maybe you don't have to charge as much as you see other people charging. Because you want something that you can, like, wiggle room to learn and to kind of modify your business from there. So, so you hesitate to say that you would change anything, but are there any kind of challenges that you have had since going full-time, or maybe some, like, problems that you didn't expect that you're like, working for yourself involves this? Like, for me, it was like learning that I had to get all the types of insurances and plan for retirement now. But like, what has that been for you?
Yeah, I think the money was definitely an issue. Like, it's definitely a balance, figuring out, I mean, your time is limited. Yeah. You just can't create more time. And like, at a certain point, you're like, I can't work anymore. I'm going crazy. But you still have bills to pay. So, I mean, I really, like, there were times that I was not sure I'd be able to pay the bills, and it always worked out. But it's those times, like, I mean, that's what I was saying before. That's why I'm able to stand behind my rates, because I've worked 12, 14, 16-hour days, like, going crazy, only to be like, oh my God, I don't know if I can pay my bills this month. And to work that hard and not know if you can pay your bills, that's just not, you know, that's not what you quit your job for. Right. You quit your job for freedom. Yeah. And so that's when you say, okay, yeah, I have to raise my rates to be sane.
Long term.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that. So then tell us, what does it mean to you? How meaningful is it to you that you do get to work for yourself full time? And then for anyone who's kind of making this decision now of whether they should do this or not, take the leap or not, but they really feel passionately about what they want to do and passionately about not working for the man anymore, would you have any advice for them? So how meaningful is it to you, and what would you tell to somebody else considering it?
Yeah, I mean, I would not trade it for anything. I love waking up in the morning and knowing that, like, I set my own rules, and that if I'm not happy about something, I'm the one that has the power to change it. I'm not, I can't blame anybody else. And that's while that sounds scary, that's actually really freeing, because okay, I'm not happy, so what can I change to make it better? And I mean, like I said, it's going to be hard. There are going to be times when you're like, oh my God, am I going to be able to pay the bills this month? But when you just have to remember, like, why you're doing it in the first place, and just remember, like, it's going to pay off eventually, and you're investing in yourself, really.
Gotcha.
You just gotta like take it one day at a time, and sometimes, like, that next step is you've just got to forgive yourself and, like, move on and be like, okay, I made this mistake. What can I do to make it better? What can I do to improve it? And, like, when you put in the time to actually do that, then later on, like 3 years later, where I'm now, it's like, okay, like, this is paying off. Like, all the work that I've done up until this point, like, I can see each of the mistakes I made along the way, and I can see each of the times when I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. I can see how it still got me to where I am today. Right. So you just have to kind of, like, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and just find those, like, small things. It's like finding the small wins, I think, really is what it's about. You just have to, like, keep patting yourself on the back and just keep going.
That's so good. And it made me think of one last question, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
So I've heard you talk about, like, online courses and also attending actual conferences in real life. What part does that play? Do you feel like that's a smart investment when somebody is first starting out? Like, what's the benefit of doing those kind of IRL in real life, events?
Yeah, I did a lot of those when I was first starting out. And I mean, it's up to you to determine, like, is this going to pay off? Is this worth it now? Like, I mean, and a lot of the times it was a stretch for me. But I just made it happen, and I just said, I knew whatever I was going to, I just had to go into it like, this is what I'm going to get out of it. And I had to kind of say, okay, what's the minimum that I can get out of this event to be happy with it, and what are my chances of actually getting that? And if the chances were pretty good, then go for it. Yeah. I mean,
you meet a lot of people, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yeah. And it can be really isolating, working for yourself. You're like in your PJs all day, behind a computer screen. And you're like, and, especially when it's, like, snowing outside or it's torrential downpour, you're like, I haven't seen humans in 3 days. So I think, like, the live component is really, like, trying to get to as many of those as you possibly can, I think, is really important, just to make those connections and really get back that human connection. Because I think it also, like, ignites your spark. Yeah. So when you're, like, really feeling down on yourself, once you get into one of those environments, it's like, these people get it. Yeah, you're not crazy. So you're not alone.
It can definitely feel like that working for yourself full time.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for not only picking me up and feeding me with good Oklahoma food, but just spending some time with us today. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Lisa's site, again, it's lmb.com, and it is a great, great resource for anyone who is wanting to get into design, business in general. You want to grow your email list. She has great tips for WordPress, but tips tips that apply to really any kind of website or blog. I would definitely recommend checking it out. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye y'all.
Bye.